Are you constantly spiraling into negativity, one bad thought after the other, thinking the worst case scenario in every situation, things always seeming to be going wrong? This is the thing, we've been conditioned to live in fear, conditioned to live in negativity, but we can actually unlearn this behaviour and learn positive thoughts instead. We can reframe our mind so that we can turn our obstacles into our wins. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach. I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse, and I also offer twin flame and spiritual guidance. This is the thing. Negativity is a learned behaviour. Positivity can be learned as well. And this is a fact. I used to be the most pessimistic person you will ever meet. And I lived by Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And literally, this is the thing. Our mind creates a reality. So if you believe something, it's going to happen. So if you're living in fear all the time, if you're living in negativity all the time, your whole life will be this perceived negativity and this perceived bad luck all the time. And that's it. Because I was living in this mentality of life is bad luck, everything bad happens. It's one bad thing after the next. I've had a run of bad luck. This is all how I spoke to myself and how a lot of us speak to ourselves. And this is what I created. I created that reality, and I thought this was the only reality there was. And it's funny, I used to actually think happy people were on drugs, that there's no way in the world somebody could be happy without some substances or something, because it was there's no such thing as happiness or positivity. I used to really get triggered by happy morning people. I was like, how can you be happy at this hour of the morning? And I used to be just angry looking at them. And it's funny because when I started to retrain my mind, I remember I used to be working in a factory, and I'd be in the corner, I'd be doing my little job, and I still remember starting to sing. Do you know what I mean? There'd be no music in this factory. There's no music. We're not allowed to listen to music. And I'd be there kind of dancing to the music in my head. And I'm like, who's your one? You know what I mean? I was like, this is 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm dancing. I'm like, what? And I used to do it as well. I started dancing, I'd have the radio on in the morning, 6 o'clock on a Friday. I'd be raving going into work. And this is something that happened out of nowhere because I started to retrain my mind. Now, I used to live in anxiety, so I understand what that's like. I understand how we can spiral. And it's this, I don't know what it is, one negative thought just keeps spiraling into another. The analogy I've had before is, the baseball machines where they throw out the tennis ball, they throw out the balls and you hit them. But if you don't hit them, they're just gonna keep coming and hit you in the face. It's the same with a negative thought. If you don't catch the first negative thought right, hit it away at the minute it comes, you're going to just keep getting these negative thoughts one after the other. So the secret is to replace every negative thought with 3 positive ones for 30 days. And this actually really does work because this is what I started to do. But it can be difficult to even think of 3 positive ones. So what I was saying to my friend the other day is think of one positive thought. When you have a negative thought, when you have know that a spiral is going to come up, when you start to feel insecure, think of this one thing that can bring you back into the moment. The truth in fairness, because a lot of the times our negativity or our fear is based on a lie. Ask yourself that too. Is this fear real in this moment, or is it just based on a past incident? For example, we're fearing something that may never happen. We're fearing something that doesn't exist. Fear is a choice. It really is. We are literally sitting here choosing to fear something that does not exist. And oftentimes we create the fear we're fearing because we're thinking of it. We wonder why we don't get the things we want. We wonder why everything keeps going wrong. Because you're manifesting it. And I know that can be triggering for people, you're creating this life. Yes, you are creating this life. We have the power to create our reality. And every day we worry, we create the things that we worry about. So if you're in fear, you're creating the thing you fear. Your fear is going to manifest. So this is why it's so important to reframe your mind or retrain your mind in order to actually create the reality you desire. And this is another, we concentrate so much on what we don't have, on what we don't want, on what we fear. That's what's manifesting. Flip the script. Tell yourself what you want. Every day, think about what you want. Manifest what you want. Create the reality that you want. And it is about just flipping the script. Like in a moment that you get a negative thought, flip it into a positive one. Every single time. This takes training. Our mind has been brainwashed for generations to live in negativity and fear. This is conditioned behavior. It's learned behavior. We can unlearn that behavior. You know, and oftentimes we're like, oh, I can't change my mindset. Yes, you can. If you say you can't, you're actually saying you won't, because we can do anything that we want. Our mind is all powerful. It really is. We can literally reframe any situation. And we see obstacles then as challenges. We think that everything is going wrong. But I've said this before, every obstacle in your life is a lesson or a redirection. If you're living out of alignment with your soul, which is your negative life effectively, you're going to keep getting warning signs from the universe to redirect you, to put you onto the proper path. But if you're not seeing the messages and the lessons within every obstacle, you're never going to learn. You're going to repeat the same cycle over and over and over again until you see that there's something there for you to learn. And I think there's such beauty in reframing your obstacles or reframing your life. So if something goes wrong, can you find the positive in it? And I know people are going to be triggered by this. They're going to be like, but this is that really bad thing has happened. And yes, really bad things can happen, but they're happening for a reason. And I know that's hard to fathom at times, you know, but every single thing is happening for a reason. You just need to change the way you look at it. That's a Wayne Dyer quote. Change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. It's his quote anyway. And this is the thing. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So like, for example, like my car, the exhaust of my car was about to fall off. And I could have seen that as, oh shit, this is a big obstacle. I'm going to have to put the car in the garage. And like, you know, obviously I did go through a little bit of trepidation around this thing. And I was just like, oh my God. But I could have spiraled. If this was a couple of years ago, I would have spiraled. I would have gone into an anxiety attack. I would have freaked out. I would have drove home and I would have been like, oh my God. And I probably wouldn't have, I've been in too much fear to even go to the garage. And I would have probably gotten to the stage where the exhaust would have fallen off and maybe caused an accident. This is how I would have perceived it like a few years ago, as in, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Freak out. But I reframed the situation. And I said to myself, I'm going to try, I was on the way into town last week and I could hear this hum and I was like, you know, this is coming out of my car. And it's like, oh my God, is it a soft? I was like, I'm imagining things. And then I could hear this rattle. I was like, no, the rattle's coming out of the boot. And then I was like, I pulled in and I pulled into a shop and then I was going to the next shop and then the rattle came again. I was like, that's not the boot. I was like, and I pulled in again and I was like, I looked under the car and I could see it was the exhaust. So I was able to use that then to go to the garage. But instead of saying to myself, oh my God, this is bad luck, this is oh shit, like, I said to myself, aren't I lucky that it happened when it did? Aren't I lucky I heard the noise early on? Aren't I lucky that I was in town then to be able to go to the garage and ask them about it? Wasn't I lucky that, like, you know, yesterday then I was able to get the car fixed in a few hours? And I was seeing all the good that happened because of this. And, you know, whenever anything happens to my car, I always take it as an indicator of what I need to look at myself. So I've been exhausted lately and I wasn't listening to that. So when my exhaust was about to fall off, I was like, maybe I need a rest. You know what I mean? So I reframed the whole situation to be this positive thing that happened. Which sounds weird because anytime anything goes wrong with our car, we're like, oh shit, oh my God, it's the end of the world. And it's like I was able to, you know, sort the whole thing out because I reframed the situation into a more positive one. You know what I mean? And this can be done with anything. Like, you know, if we're spiraling over something and if we're in fear over something, that thing is going to be worse. You know, but we can reframe it completely into the positive. What good can I find in this? What is the lesson here? Because everything has a silver lining, and it really does. And there is, like, even if we perceive it as a negative obstacle or a challenge, like, you know, Tony Robbins calls our challenges our obstacles. Like, they're your greatest opponent because they help you to become a better version of yourself, and they help you they're like stepping stones into your next level. So this is why it's so important to flip that script. You know what I mean? is this actually the end of the world? Like, oh my God, like years ago, especially when I was in this negative mentality, when I was in this pessimistic energy, it was like the smallest of things were the end of the world. It was like your whole life was ending because something small would go wrong. Like, and it was just like, oh my God, freak out. Like, and you go into this spiral and you'd end up in a ball of depression for days before you'd even have the energy to actually do something about it. Whereas because I reframe everything, I was able to kind of say, right, what can I do now to fix this? What can I do now to redirect this? What can I do now to make this easier for myself? And when we live in that positive mindset, every single thing, you can see it as not an obstacle, but a message. You know what I mean? I could have really spiraled and gone, oh my God, shit, the car thing and like the end of the world energy, like I used to. But I literally said, what is this trying to teach me? How is there a positive in this situation? And there were so many. You know what I mean? I saw the bright side of it, the good side of it. And like everything just worked so well when I'm in that mindset. You see, when we're in this energy of, like, when you say, like, I've had a run of bad luck, it's because you've had one incident that you perceived as bad luck, went into this spiral of energy of everything is bad luck, and then created more things that were bad luck. And I've seen this in when I used to be working in the factory. Like, I did this myself, but as a supervisor, I was able to see this in my workers as well. It's like, if you had a one fuck up, you know what I mean? You made one mistake. You would spend the whole day worrying about that mistake, that you would actually make another mistake. So you'd actually have the whole day a run of mistakes, because every mistake you made would make you spiral again. And you wouldn't be in your right frame of mind. So everything in your head was around this first mistake or this second mistake or this third mistake. And then guess what? You'd make another mistake because all you're thinking about is that mistake. So this is how we have a run of bad luck, is because we're concentrating on this mistake. Whereas, like, if you just reframe it and said, okay, I know what I did wrong here. I can use this to make sure I don't do don't do it wrong the next time. And then you actually make your next one better. That's the thing. When we learn from the obstacle, when we learn from the mistake, when we learn from the challenge, it actually makes things run more smoothly. So, like, if I had spiraled with the car the other day, I would have literally hit obstacle after obstacle. Everything would have seemed like a challenge, and I could have created I could have ended up manifesting the whole exhaust actually falling off, which would have been dangerous. You know what I mean? Whereas in actual fact, I breathed into the moment, and I was like, what can I do now to not spiral? You know what I mean? I could have completely freaked out. And, my old energy would have been freak out and drive home and just stay in my little box for days and not do anything. But my new energy was like, I can fix this now. I can change this now. And I went to the garage straight away, and everything just aligned perfectly. Like, more perfectly than ever. It was like, it was all orchestrated for it to happen the way it did. And every little box was ticked along the way. And it was like doubly ticked because it was just like so easy. Everything just worked perfectly. I got the appointment I needed. I got the booking that I needed. I got, even like to have the car done in a few hours rather than have to wait a few days to get my car back. All this kind of energy. It was just so, so simple. And it just flowed so easily. So instead of me getting upset about the whole situation, I felt grateful for it. So that's the thing. We can actually turn our minds, or reframe our minds into feeling gratitude for our obstacles. You can turn your obstacles into wins because of a little bit of gratitude. I was so grateful that I was safe. I was so grateful to have such a great garage, mechanic, great support there. I was so grateful to have it done so quickly. And, it's the simple thing. I'm so grateful to have it fixed. Like, even when I went in the first time and he was giving me the price for parts, you could see by the face on him, it was like, it cost this much, as if it was expensive. And I was just like, it's not expensive when you're maintaining your car, your safety. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it costs because I'm getting my car fixed so it's safe. So as far as I'm concerned, that wasn't a challenge either. It was like, thank you, because I'm grateful that this can happen. So instead of worrying or spiraling or feeling negative about something, we can literally feel gratitude for it. Feel grateful for the experience, feel grateful for the lessons. And it wasn't just a lesson in gratitude or everything kind of going right and not, reframing it. I had other lessons to learn from that. I was grateful to know that I needed to take a rest myself because I was exhausted. And, even this morning, I'm after getting more lessons around the car. It's weird. There's so many different little things that are after coming out of this situation to do with myself and my own inner healing, which is funny. You know what I mean? So it's after triggering stuff within me that I needed to heal. So that's even a bigger win as far as I'm concerned, because it's helping me uncover stuff that I was maybe avoiding or not seeing at the surface. So that's it. That's the beauty of it as well. One of these big obstacles, or what we perceive as obstacles, can actually have a really profound effect on what we need to do within our lives. So there's a reflection of what we can do. And that's with anything in our lives. It's a mirror reflection, telling you there's something within you that needs to be healed, or telling you there's something in you that needs a redirection, or, just looking at, really. So it is really that simple. By rewiring your brain every day, replace every negative thought with a positive one, or 3 if you can. But even as I said, if you find it difficult to find 3 positive thoughts every day, or every time you have a negative thought, think of one. Think of one thing that's really, really beautiful in your life that you have such gratitude for. One really, really, really thing that sets your soul on fire, that, brings you love, brings you safety, brings you abundance, brings you everything, just one thing, because you definitely have one. We have so many things to be grateful for. So think of that one really, really amazing thing that you do have in your life, and use that as an anchor. Use that to bring you back. Every time you spiral into negativity, go, no, this is, I'm abundant because I have this. This is what gets, this is my positive thought. Bring yourself back into that moment every single time. And it's beautiful how quick this will work if you do it every single time you feel negativity. Change it. Flip the script. Replace it with a positive thought, because a negative thought is false. It's based on a past fear. It's based on a past situation. So we can literally just get that out of the way, push it out of the way with a positive thought. That's all you need to do. One positive thought can actually, every day can actually help you go so much further than you are now. So think in positivity and reframe everything. Ask yourself, how can I change this to be a positive situation? What can I do to flip the script? How can I change this obstacle into a win? What can I learn from this? Because I'm still surprised. I always take everything literal in a sense, or that there is a message here. So I got some good messages from the car. But this morning, I'm actually getting more stuff that I didn't even realize could be connected to that. And I'm like, wow, there's just so much that's after happening in the last week, just because my car needed to get a new exhaust. Just from that situation, instead of spiraling into negativity, I found so many clues to other aspects of my life that I needed to heal. It's mind blowing. And even this morning, as I said, I'm after finding more that I need to work on now, which is amazing. And I feel real gratitude now for that happening. And it can be with any situation. Anything that's gone wrong can redirect you into something that's better for you. If you lose something in your life, it's actually opening up something to making room for new beginnings, or making room for better to come into your life. So, instead of seeing something as a loss or a negativity, ask yourself, what is this showing me? But what is this opening up for me? Because everything that changes in your life, everything that, goes wrong, is actually going right. It's changing you onto the path you're supposed to be on. You just need to listen to it. And you need to just reframe your thoughts into the positive ones every single time. It's that simple. Change your mind and you change your life. We have got the power right within us. And it is that easy. Bring some positivity in, get rid of that negativity. This is a learned behavior that we get to unlearn. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help on your journey, please book me for a free discovery call today, and I'd love nothing more than to help on your path.